Think about the last meal you warmed up. Maybe it was yesterday's dinner or something quick this morning before your day began. You took it from the fridge, placed it in the microwave, set it for 2 minutes, and carried on. It didn't feel risky, and that's exactly the issue. After reviewing thousands of patient records, one of the clearest patterns I've seen in people who develop serious illnesses despite following all the right habits isn't genetics, body weight, or stress. It's the way they handle leftover food. Today, I'll go over 5 foods that undergo harmful chemical changes when reheated, not in a vague sense. These changes are precise, documented, and become much more significant after age 60. The risk isn't only food poisoning. It's the long-term effect these foods have on your cells, quietly fueling inflammation, accelerating damage to arteries and DNA, and creating the environment doctors see building for years before any diagnosis. This isn't about one bad meal. It's a repeating, invisible pattern that might be working against you every day. The last food on this list is eaten several times a week by most people, and what happens when you reheat it could change how you view it permanently. Before discussing the foods, here's a short essential biology lesson. Your body faces damage constantly. Cells get injured, free radicals circulate, minor toxins appear, and low-grade infections happen. At 35, your body handles these efficiently. Repair systems act fast, the immune response is strong, and the liver detoxifies quickly. After 60, this changes, not because you're falling apart, but because the margin for error is smaller. The liver processes compounds more slowly. The gut lining, a key barrier between food and blood, thins and becomes more permeable. DNA repair systems that catch mutations operate slower. The result is that low-level toxins that were once cleared linger longer. Inflammatory signals that used to fade in a day now persist for 3. Mutations that once were corrected slip through. This is the environment chronic inflammation thrives in. Chronic inflammation is different from the inflammation felt from a sprained ankle. It is subtle, continuous, and runs in the background like a program you never opened. It underlies the 2 main threats for people over 60: cardiovascular disease and abnormal cell growth, commonly called cancer. Every food on this list, when reheated, feeds that process. Some generate compounds that damage artery walls. Others produce substances classified as probable human carcinogens. Some disrupt gut health, sending inflammatory signals directly into the bloodstream. The chemistry is well documented. Food number 1 is eggs. Widely considered a health food, especially for older adults, eggs are high in protein, easy to digest, and nutrient-rich. But the cholesterol in eggs changes after cooking. Once cooled, the cholesterol begins oxidizing slowly. Reheating, especially in a microwave with uneven heating and hot spots, accelerates this process, creating compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols directly harm the inner lining of blood vessels, promoting foam cell formation, an early step in plaque buildup. For someone over 60 whose arteries are less flexible than at 40, consuming oxidized cholesterol daily adds stress to already fragile vessels. Additionally, reheated egg whites undergo protein denaturation combined with Maillard reaction byproducts, forming compounds difficult for the gut to process. This triggers local gut inflammation, which spreads throughout the body more easily after 60. The solution is to cook eggs fresh. If reheating is necessary, use very low heat on a stovetop and never microwave more than once. Food number 2 is seafood and fish. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel are widely praised for heart health due to omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation. Heat makes these polyunsaturated fats oxidize. Cooking once causes some oxidation, which is manageable. Reheating already partially oxidized fats makes them highly unstable and more damaging. The process creates a chain of oxidized fat compounds, including malondialdehyde, or MDA. MDA forms during lipid peroxidation, the breakdown of sensitive fats under heat. Extensive studies classify it as a mutagenic compound, meaning it can directly harm DNA. It also acts as a strong pro-inflammatory agent, targeting arterial tissue. The irony is clear. Fish is eaten to protect the heart, yet reheating it may stress the very arteries it was meant to safeguard. There is also a bacterial dimension, especially critical for adults over 60. Fish and shellfish can carry bacteria like Vibrio and Listeria monocytogenes. These microbes survive cold storage and can endure reheating if internal temperatures aren't uniform. Listeria is particularly dangerous for older adults because immune function naturally declines with age. A mild illness for a 35-year-old can become a severe systemic infection for a 70-year-old. The solution is simple. Eat fish fresh on the day it's cooked. Leftovers can be consumed cold the next day in salads or grain bowls. Omega-3 fatty acids remain intact and keep their anti-inflammatory benefits. Heat is what damages them. Cold consumption preserves the nutrients that make fish beneficial. Food number 3 is mushrooms. Currently popular in health circles, mushrooms contain antioxidants, B vitamins, and beta-glucans that support the immune system, which is especially important for older adults. However, cooked mushrooms left overnight and reheated pose a very different risk. Mushrooms have complex protein structures. Cooking begins breaking down these proteins. During cooling and storage, bacterial activity converts them into biogenic amines, including putrescine and histamine. Histamine, familiar as the compound released during allergic reactions, can also enter the body through food. Dietary histamine triggers vasodilation and gut inflammation, and, for sensitive individuals, can mimic allergic reactions without a clear allergen. Reheating mushrooms does not neutralize these biogenic amines. For adults over 60 with more permeable gut linings, elevated dietary histamine contributes to a persistent systemic histamine load, a low-grade immune activation that fuels chronic inflammation. Mushrooms also release purines in higher amounts after storage and reheating, which matters for those managing uric acid levels or at risk for gout, increasingly common after 60. The practical fix is to eat mushrooms the same day they are cooked. Refrigerate immediately after cooking, and, if consuming leftovers, use them within 24 hours, preferably cold in salads or grain bowls rather than reheated. Stepping back, the pattern is clear. Eggs, fish, mushrooms, all are healthy fresh. The danger arises from reheating. Heat applied to cooked food differs from heat applied to raw food. Fats are partially oxidized. Proteins are partially broken down. Bacteria have acted quietly over hours. The effects aren't immediate. One reheated egg or one plate of leftover fish doesn't trigger symptoms. The compounds accumulate slowly, creating low-grade inflammation that, over 60, builds up because the body detoxifies slower, repairs DNA less efficiently, and has a thinner gut lining. This slow accumulation sets the stage for serious illness. Food number 4 is processed and cured meats. Ham, bacon, deli turkey, sausage, and hot dogs are convenient, protein-rich, and popular among older adults. Even before reheating, they carry chemical risks. Nitrites, specifically sodium nitrite, preserve the meats, prevent microbial growth, maintain pink color, and extend shelf life. Moderate consumption is generally handled safely by the body. Reheating changes this. Nitrite-containing meats, when heated again, react with proteins and amino acids to form nitrosamines. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same as tobacco, largely due to nitrosamines. Nitrosamines form most aggressively at high temperatures. Reheating leftover ham in a hot pan or microwave generates new bursts of these compounds. They primarily damage the stomach, colon, and esophagus, which explains the consistent link between processed meat consumption and colorectal and stomach cancers. Nitrosamines also contribute to vascular inflammation. Nitrosamines attack the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels, similar to oxidized fats we discussed earlier. The outcome is identical: damaged arterial walls, more plaque buildup, and higher cardiovascular risk. After 60, another factor comes into play. Stomach acid weakens, meaning nitrosamines are broken down less efficiently and are more likely to enter the bloodstream intact. The guidance is twofold. First, limit processed meats overall. Fresh, unprocessed proteins are safer. Second, if processed meat is consumed, eat it cold directly from the fridge. A cold slice of turkey on whole grain crackers is very different from one microwaved. Cold limits nitrosamine formation. Heat accelerates it. Food number 5 is starchy vegetables cooked in oil. This may surprise many because these are often recommended for senior health. Roasted vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes, parsnips, zucchini, and beets in olive oil or vegetable oil with herbs sound healthy, and they are when first cooked. The issue arises with reheating. High-temperature roasting partially oxidizes the oil, reducing its health benefits, especially polyphenols in olive oil. Leftover roasted vegetables in compromised oil, then reheated in a microwave or oven, Introduce aldehydes, reactive toxic compounds that harm arterial tissue. Starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, carrots, and parsnips contain natural sugars and starches. When cooked and cooled, some starch becomes resistant starch, acting like dietary fiber, feeding gut bacteria and slowing glucose absorption. Blood sugar rises gently, and insulin response remains modest. Reheating converts resistant starch back into regular starch, causing rapid glucose spikes and insulin surges. For adults over 60 with insulin resistance, repeated spikes generate oxidative stress in blood vessel walls, accelerate arterial stiffening, and increase cardiovascular disease risk. The result is a double effect. Aldehydes from oxidized oil attack arteries one way, and rapid glucose spikes attack from another. The safer approach is to roast only what will be eaten immediately, or roast without oil and add fresh oil afterward. Leftovers should be eaten at room temperature or cold in a grain bowl. Cold preserves resistant starch and prevents further oil oxidation. Practical summary of the 5 swaps. Eggs. Cook fresh every time, around 3 minutes. Avoid microwaving. Low stove heat is safer. Fish and seafood. Consume the same day or cold the next day. Cold preserves omega-3 fatty acids, whereas reheating creates oxidized fats. Mushrooms. Cook and eat the same day. Leftovers should go cold into salads and be refrigerated immediately. Processed meats, minimize overall. When eaten, keep cold to limit nitrosamines. Roasted vegetables. Eat only freshly roasted portions or leftovers cold in a bowl. Add fresh olive oil after cooking to maintain polyphenols. These adjustments do not require changing what you eat, only when and how you eat it. Stacking these changes over weeks and months lowers chronic inflammation. Benefits appear in blood tests, energy, and blood pressure. Small daily habits compound into the most effective preventive measures. Health decisions happen in the kitchen at 7:00 p.m., deciding to cook fresh or reheat, and at 8:00 a.m. when warming last night's eggs. After 60, the body has less margin for error, and compounds from reheated foods linger longer and do more damage. Implementing these 5 shifts actively reduces the chronic inflammation underlying the top health risks for adults over 60. Share this information with those who regularly reheat these foods so they can make safer choices. The kitchen remains one of the most powerful tools for health. Use it wisely. This content is educational and does not replace personalized medical advice. Consult your physician before making dietary or health changes. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.